bodies need our facilities and Jevans needs the happiness. When do we need happiness and facilities? Happiness is needed always, facilities from time to time. How much? Happiness is unlimited, facilities are limited. Sources, knowledge and evidence is the source of happiness. Physical, chemical objects are sources of facilities. Means for fulfillment, humane conduct and humane occupation. Humane conduct will lead to happiness and humane occupation will provide facilities. Where do you find happiness? In human relationships, and in human nature relationship is where you can you produce your facilities. Type, non-material and material. Next. The need for happiness is for Jivan and need for material facilities for body. Both needs have to be fulfilled. Happiness cannot fulfill material needs in humans. And material facilities cannot fulfill non-material needs of the conscious aspect of the humans. Facilities do not give lasting happiness. Okay, the difference. The both have to be fulfilled, right? Next. Lack of education about the needs of Jivan in humans has resulted in beliefs and practices where humans keep trying to be happy through acquiring and consuming material facilities. The need of lasting happiness, which originates from conscious aspect of humans, can be identified properly and addressed fully through study of humans in harmonious coexistence. Study of harmonious coexistence, when completed, enables the person to fulfill his/her need for lasting happiness by living on the basis of humanness in relationships, family, society, and nature. Then we went into the 4 dimensions of living: work, behavior, intellect, and spiritual. Okay. Dimensions of behavior and work in humans are expressed through the body. Next. The intellectual and spiritual dimensions in humans exist in the Jivan. Dimensions of work and behavior are governed by the intellectual dimension. The intellectual dimension can have complete clarity only in the light of awakened spiritual dimension. Awakening of one spiritual dimension is only possible through dedicated study of coexistence. Okay. Then we went into power of imagination and power of willful action. Right?
I just realized that we didn't do the definition of human.
That can be part of this, yes. Next, power of imagination and power of willful action, right? So, next, that intellect is like the virtual world where imagined, assumed laws, regulation, and balance are functional, and in the real world where nature's laws, regulation, and balance are applicable. We have ideas in our power of imagination. We execute them through the body, which is through power of willful action, which results in some, the action results in some result, which are either desirable or acceptable or non-acceptable. Click. All right? So if we study the real world, click. Study of reality with the help of body and power of imagination awakens our spiritual aspect, and that in turn affects our intellect, and that leads to the intellect become aligned with the real world. Now the nature's laws, regulation, and balance are established in the intellect. And now any idea would be fulfilled. The results would be fulfilling for us. So this is the basis for lasting happiness or the continuous happiness. Okay. Next. So knowledge, acceptance, recognition and response. To know, to accept, to recognize and to respond. So before knowledge, we try to respond from the basis of recognition rooted in only acceptance, right? But in humans, that is not sufficient. In animals, that is sufficient. So in humans, we need to fulfill our knowledge. Then on basis of that knowledge, you can accept that knowledge and recognize on basis of that and then respond. Right? Otherwise, functioning only on basis of the belief systems that we might have, trying to recognize things on basis of that will never fulfill. Right? The responses will not be proper, and that gap will be apparent to us. Right? So knowledge gives us that framework on basis of which we can recognize things. Next. Functioning on basis of intellect. Preconditioning. Assuming without knowing depends on something or someone outside, keeps changing. Not sure if it leads to harmony or if it leads to contradiction. Sensation. Happiness from favorable sensation of sound, touch, form, taste and smell. Happiness from indulgence. The first stage is tasty, necessary. When body also needs it, we think we also need it. That's tasty, necessary. And when the body's need is fulfilled, it's still tasty but unnecessary. Then if we still continue eating it, it will become tasteless, unnecessary. And if even we still continue, it will become intolerable. Right? This is an example. So this is an example of that. The sensations are there to indicate the necessity that is rooted in the body. So as long as the body needs it, as long as it is necessary for the body, it will appeal to our senses. But if the body doesn't need it, then it will stop appealing to our body. Next. Then, is happiness an excited state? Excited or agitated? These are the words we use. Here we understood the significance of the normal state, about which we are not aware. We found out that normal state is the state in which you can observe yourself and you can observe the others. That is the key of knowing whether we are in normal state or not. And in any of these normal high state or low state, agitated states, we can come back to the normal state if we start observing ourselves. We start paying attention to that. And in the high state, when we are living in high states, the peaks seem like happiness, but they are not stable. So you come down from that high, then you want to experience it again, more peaks. So you try to make your life where you can experience a lot more peaks. But if you indulge more in some activity, of whatever activity, the peaks start diminishing. And because they diminish, you are disappointed. That can lead to depression or much stronger lows, right? The low state we don't want to be in, and when we presume that high state is happiness, but it is not stable. It is not high happiness. Happiness is only possible in the normal state. Right? Because you can observe yourself and the other. Right? Okay, next. So we did talk a little bit about the importance of work. We consume resources, goods, services through body from birth till death. Then consumed resources are received from society, the collective, and produced resources are tendered to the society. Next. Net production more than consumption in a lifetime is non-exploitative. We are productive in generating goods and services for a shorter duration. In our productive age, we need to compensate for the non-productive phases: childhood, elderly age, and sickness. Right. Humane economics also we talked about a little bit, in which humane occupation, self-regulated consumption, right utilization and conservation. Right? So humane occupation is an occupation in which we produce things or services without exploiting the nature. Right? So we utilize the resources in a manner that the cycles of nature are maintained. We do not disturb the cycles.
I
Yeah.
I think I would like to add here that this does not mean that this is promoting minimalism.
Right.
It's actually, it actually leads to a sense of abundance and prosperity. One doesn't have to be minimalistic. You just need to recognize what the needs are and know the cycles and actually be bountiful, abundant.
Yeah. We did mention it at that time also. This is not about minimalism. Right? So the human occupation is basically taking raw materials from nature in a method which is in harmony with the natural cycles. So then, using those raw materials, we put our physical effort into it. We can also use machines if we want, and instill some values in it. The values are utility value and or aesthetic values. Right? And that the product is which or good which we achieve after this is our wealth. So we generate wealth through our occupation. Right? And then self-regulated consumption. We decide what is needed for us and we generate enough to consume. And all these needs are determined at the level of family, not in individual. So how much a family needs to consume will be determined in the ratio of consumptions of the young ones and the youth and the elderly all combined. Right? Then right utilizations, ensuring that whatever has been produced is used properly. It is not wasted. Right? That is very important. And because all the hoarding leads to is wastage. Even the money which is hoarded, it goes out of the circulation of the economy. It is not participating in the economy anymore because it is hoarded away. Nowadays, though, it's just a number on a computer, but suppose it was currency even or coins, they would be, if you hoarded it, then it is not participating in the economic system. It has been taken out of it. So it will need to be compensated. And conservation of resources, conservation of techniques, conservation of knowledge, conservation of skills. Right? All this is important. We talked about continuity in terms of resources in the terms, like when we were taking the example of growing rice. So we kept some seed for regrowing the crop. But along with that, not only do we need seeds, we also need the knowledge of how to use the seed for growing. That also needs to be kept alive, which will be in the human conscious. Right? So it has to become part of education. It can't be left. Right? Yeah. Then we looked at Jevans, activities and powers and forces. So man, vritti, chit, buddhi, atma are the imperishable powers. Then hope, thought, desire, wisdom and authentication are the imperishable forces. Inward activity, which is for understanding, and outward activity, which are for living or for evidence, are perception, comparison, contemplation, enlightenment and anubhav or realization. And outward are evidence, resolve, visualization, analysis and choice. Right? Out of this, these 4.5 are needed when we are living as body. So when our journey starts from birth, only 4.5 are actively in our control. The rest of the 5.5 are not in our control. We are not able to utilize them. And to utilize the rest 5.5 or get control of them, acquiring knowledge or awareness needs to become the priority in our life, topmost priority. Then only will these become active. They will come into our control. Right? And man interacts through body. Right? It interacts with vritti. Vritti interacts with man and chit. Chit interacts with vritti and buddhi. Buddhi interacts with chit and atma. Okay? Atma interacts with buddhi. And atma also interacts with, when it has realization, with it is able to see the coexistence. So coexistence is realized here, in this. And in light of this, buddhi becomes wise. In light of buddhi becoming wise, the desires become regulated, aligned with the natural systems. Such desires can be thought through and then lived. Right? So this was Jeevan, about Jeevan. There are a lot more details. If we were to look at the two dimensions which are in Jeevan, which is the intellectual dimension and the spiritual dimension. The 4.5 form the intellectual dimension, and spiritual dimensions are in the 5.5 activities. Okay, and the behavior dimension and the work dimension is in combination with the body, Jeevan's combination with the body. And these two are under direct influence of intellectual dimension. And the status of this or the functioning of this, whether in harmony or out of harmony, depends on this, whether this spiritual dimension has been awakened or not. That's the main thing. Okay? Anji. हाँ, संकल्प, विजडम ऋतंबरा, प्रमाण, प्रमाण या प्रमाणिकता, दोनों ही शब्द आए हैं वहां पे. इन दोनों में इंटरचेंजेबली शब्द आए हैं पुस्तकों में. चलिए नेक्स्ट. So, since we have talked about that Jeevan is kind of an atom, we are just representing it with the like a very classical physics model. This is not to proportion. Okay. So the center is the Atma. Then the first orbit is Buddhi. The second orbit is Chit. Third orbit Vritti, and the fourth one is Man. And the man interacts with the body. Next. We can use the quantum physics model for this also. So comparison, which was in the 4.5, the half activity is comparison, which is where the priorities are set using the perspectives that we have. So there are 6 types of perspectives, out of which 3 are rooted in the body and 3 are rooted in knowledge. Right? So the 3 are likes, dislikes, which is sense-centric, suitable, unsuitable, which is health-centric, and profitable, unprofitable, which is wealth-centric or resource-centric. Right? Rishta, this can be wealth-centric. And then the other set so we make decisions on likes and dislikes, right? If we look at our decisions before awakening, the most of the decisions lie in this domain, whether it's appealing to my senses, or is it suitable for my health, or is it profitable, unprofitable. These are the perspectives we use for deciding. And these are the knowledge-centric criteria or perspectives. in which one is relation-centric, one is relationship-centric, other is order-centric, and third is the continuity-centric. So in relationship, am I being just? And being just means, am I fulfilling my part of responsibilities or not? That is what is the essential meaning. This is the key for change in us. This is the place where you can practice. This is where the journey starts. When you start seeking to be just in your relationships, which basically means you start checking, or whatever understanding you have at the moment, are you fulfilling your part of responsibility in that relationship or not? So, though we don't say there is anything to practice, but those who will be practicing something would be this.
How I do it is not about whether I'm fulfilling that responsibility or not. More like, am I feeling the value that is accompanied in that relationship? If yes, then why and how? If no, then why and how? Because understanding leads to those values, right? If you appreciate, then there will be gratitude. If you're able to recognize greatness, there will be respect. So I think for me, the practice is in practicing to see things in this perspective, with this perspective, not
So
to
when
fulfill responsibility.
no, so when we start looking at our responsibilities, then these values we talked about, which will be coming later, values are emotions which are rooted in understanding and responsibility. Right? So to fulfill these responsibilities, we'll have to study the values, and then we'll have to live them. Without that, we won't achieve the results. So like without affection, without trust, without respect, relationships cannot be lived. You can't do your part of responsibility. Right? So similarly, all the other values. Okay, next. Oh, sorry, go back. We talked about just and just, we didn't talk about righteous and unrighteous. So this is to see the universality of things. Will this be right for everybody? Will this suit everybody? Is this the way to live? If everybody lived like this, will it be okay for our planet? Things like that. So keeping the larger systems in mind and then determining whether my actions are in alignment with these systems or not. This is the righteous or unrighteous approach. Right? Otherwise, right now, some of our decisions are, I'm doing this because this is the way I like it. But putting a check on yourself, if this is the way everybody would be doing, what would be that impact? So, considering that, can everybody live like that? So, for example, how much is the population on planet right now? 8 billion. Okay. So, if 8 billion people were to fly in aeroplanes, what would it be like? What would be the consequences on the planet? So, we could use that to check whether I need to fly an airplane or not. If 8 billion people were to travel in a car, right? So even though you do travel in the car or you do take the flight, but you know this is not for everyone and this is a privilege and this can't last too long. I cannot plan my life forever living like this. I have to slowly recede from this. Right?
Yeah, I think it's really important to. It's a very big difference here, I feel, that as compared to any other place where we talk of morality, where the stress is not on doing, because as soon as we start thinking with a different or looking with a different perspective, the evaluation, and since if we're honest and sincere within ourselves when we're looking at things, then I think the evaluation and the critique happens pretty naturally, and things that we thought would be really difficult to kind of, discipline ourselves to leave or let go of. You don't have to do that because they just drop off as unnecessary over time. You don't have to. It's not forced or difficult. It's pretty natural. You don't have to leave it. It drops out.
And then, see, for the same example of airplanes or cars and stuff like that, then we start thinking about one can become aware in what is the purpose of travel? Why do I need to travel? So you start questioning such things. So travel for entertainment, what is the net impact of that? Travel for education, travel for something else, social contributions. So travel is for social contributions and for that education also. But for entertainment, if you're traveling, then it's a big cost, right? So purposeful travel then becomes a more important thing. But these are issues we discuss otherwise. But this is just to check, to highlight the fact that what does order-centric mean, right? We check the sense of universality. Can everybody live like this? Is it suitable for everyone, right? Can we create systems for everyone with this tendency? That is the important part. In Hindi, we use the word dharma, adharma for this. And for just, unjust, we use nyaya, anyaya. And for truth, untruth, it is satya, asatya. Right? So those of you might be interested. Okay, next. Okay, truth, untruth. Truth, untruth was continuity. Will this perpetuate? Natural systems perpetuate. They continue. Right? If this action we take, will it help the continuity of the natural systems, of the human systems? That is the key issue here. Because finally the continuity is the indicator that it is in final alignment with the coexistential system. All coexistential systems are continuous. Okay, moving on. Then we talked a little bit about human goal. Do humans have any role in nature? Is there such a thing as human goal, individual? If there is such a goal, would it be individual goal or collective goal? If there is such a goal, then would it be durational or eternal? Durational means for a short duration. Or circumstantial or universal. So these are loaded questions, as you are aware. So it will be collective, eternal, and universal. Right? So such a goal would be the universal well-being. क्या हुआ? Click. So universal well-being is equal to preserving the continuity of all. What is all? Natural systems as well as the human systems. So natural order in the three orders: material order, biological order, animal order, the system made by them, and continuity of this. So the planetary natural cycles, continuity of that, right? So the balance in the climate, the regulated temperature of Earth, the flow of pure air and pure water in abundance, the way it is, ensuring this continues, right? So for achieving this, continuity of order in humans and continuity of natural order, this becomes important to understand, right? Next. Harmony. When humans will have harmony with themselves and the nature, this will bring about a balance. And this balance is what lends stability. And this stability is what enables the continuity. So harmony is the key to continuity. That is the main thing. Disharmonious states are temporary. Harmony has the potential continuity. So whatever is continuing in nature, in cyclic forms, is all harmonious. Okay? Next. Universal well-being includes personal well-being. Sarv Shubh mein Swashubh Samaya. Right? So, when we work for the universal well-being, our well-being is taken care of in that. But if we only work for the personal well-being, then the universal well-being is left aside, which basically means for personal well-being we end up exploiting, whether it's nature or it's other human beings. So in this relationship of universal well-being and personal well-being, if we give top priority to this and second priority to this, then one will slip into exploitation. When we give this top priority, this is ensured.
Which is not to say that if you prioritize personal well-being, universal well-being gets left out, but personal well-being gets achieved, because these can't be separate from each other.
Yeah.
If I'm exploiting someone, then at some level I'm also unhappy or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not exclusive.
So if I'm exploiting for what I think is personal well-being, then my relationships will start deteriorating, whether it's with humans or with nature, and slowly I will be deprived of them. So there is a statement in this philosophy which says, if we do not rightly utilize anything, we will get deprived of it. If we do not rightly utilize anything, or we do not rightly interact with something, then we will slowly be deprived of it. If we don't rightly utilize a body, we'll slowly be deprived of it. If we do not rightly utilize our water resources, we'll be deprived of it. If we do not rightly utilize air, we'll be deprived of it. Yeah. Next. So aligning with human goal, how does that happen? There is a sequence of understanding. Right? So first is, we study the order in nature, then order in humans, and universal well-being. By studying these two, we understand what is universal well-being, how to achieve this. When we know how to achieve this and we become dedicated to this, we become committed to this, this gives us a direction, sense of direction, in what direction we have to go. And on basis of this direction, we can determine what is right and what is wrong. Right? Since we function through decisions all the time, so we need a criteria. The criteria is given to us by the sense of direction. And if this direction is rooted in the universal well-being, then these rights and wrong will be alignment with the order in nature and order in human beings. Otherwise, they won't be. You might think you're doing the right thing, but they won't be in alignment with this. Next. Then we have talked about collaboration. It's a systematic approach or process that benefits all participants. And a systematic process that benefits all participants is defined as collaboration. Next. Collaboration emerges from total commitment to the collective purpose being the universal well-being. Commitment comes from total acceptance of the collective purpose. Next, total acceptance is a result of comprehensive understanding. Understanding is the desired outcome of education. Wherever there are gaps in collaboration, it is due to the gaps in the education of that person, of that group, of that community, or of the whole humankind. Next. Collaboration results from give and take of cooperation. Right? So what we are calling behavior is basically give and take of cooperation. Right? So a relationship is basically a kind of commitment that we will give and take cooperation with each other. So checking whether I am doing my bit of giving, that is the attitude of just, or that's the perspective of justness. Right? Next. Harmony in relationships results in lasting happiness for both partners in relationship. So when the give and take of support is fully done with full awareness and fulfills both the partners, this results in harmony. Okay? And this does not only fulfills the two partners, it also has an impact on surroundings, a harmonious impact. And when there is disharmony in two, it also has an impact around. Right? In families we can see when any two people are fighting, it has an impact on people around them. And if two people are getting along well with each other, that also has impact around. Right? If we are able to resolve issue by sitting down, talking, working out things, that also has an impact. And society is a network of relationships. Right? Next. All human functions are fulfilled in relationships. You cannot function outside relationships. There is no functioning of a human being in isolation. What we think of isolation or doing it alone is basically you're not acknowledging the contributions you have received. Next. Each relationship has a definite purpose, definite activities, definite responsibilities, and definite expectation. Right? We took an example of the parent-child relationship. The parent-child relationship, the purpose. Go back to the previous one, please. So in the parent-child relationship, the definite purpose is that the future generation or the child generation or the child, when they grows up with the parenting which is provided to him or her, becomes a learned and responsible person as an individual, as a member of family, as a member of society, and member of this planet. Right? That is the purpose. What are the activities for it? That both the parties have activities in any relationship. So in this case, parent would be doing providing the nurturing, resources and opportunities, and providing the education, resources and opportunity. What is the child doing? Child is taking these, utilizing these opportunities and resources which are provided for nurturing as well as education. What is the responsibility? Both parties have responsibility. Parents' responsibility is to provide the resources and opportunities for nurturing and education, keeping the purpose in mind. So responsibility is doing the activity with purpose in mind. And the child's responsibility would be to utilize those resources, keeping the purpose in mind. This is how you work out the responsibilities. What are the expectations in these relationships? Both the parties have the expectation the other will fulfill their responsibilities. This is the minimum set. If we are able to fulfill this much set, we start walking the path of harmony. And then we can do a lot more in this relationship. But if this is not fulfilled, there is no chance of harmony in relationships. Next. So 7 types of human relationships in society are these: husband-wife, parent-child, sister-brother or sibling relationship, friend-friend, teacher-student, employer-employee or co-worker relationship, institutional relationships. Right? Husband-wife relationship is with common vision, co-creators, living with effort and essence. Then parent-child is nurturing, guidance, upliftment, utility, complementary. Sister-brother sibling relationship is share responsibilities and achievements, coincidental, collaboration, and mutual upliftment. Friend is learn, explore, and experiment together, complementary in growth. Teacher-student, education-related, learned and inquisitiveness. Employer-employee, liability and duty. Basically, it means not liability, maybe we could have a better word, but is the main responsibility to ensure that the work we're doing gets done. And the people who are helping complete this work, that we are calling duty. Right? So, and the institutional relationships are basically participation in the larger society. Right? We talked about how husband and wife are two people who are aware of their responsibilities as individual, as family, as society, and as citizens of this planet. They are aware of this responsibility and want to contribute in continuity of the natural systems as well as the human order. So these two people get together, they become husband and wife. Such husband and wife may have children. When they have children, they become that gives rise to the parent-child relationship. The parent-child relationship, because parents can have more than one child, leads to sister-brother or the sibling relationship. Right? This family is not alone. In neighborhood, there are many families where there are many parents and children. So these children of different families become friends to each other, and the parents in different families are friends to each other. All these young ones needs education. Whoever takes responsibility becomes the teacher, and this gives rise to teacher-student relationship. Once the education is complete, they want to start contributing in the society, they get into occupation. And their employer-employee relationships come around. And lastly, for the larger society's interaction is the institutional relationship. We talked about our relationship with our postman, with our shopkeeper, with our electricity guy, with our officials. So many people are there. There is also a defined relationship, and there is a defined relationship, therefore they have definite purpose, definite activities, definite responsibilities, and definite expectations. Right? Anji. समझदार किसमें विद्यार्थी हाँ वो जिज्ञास या right.
What about the other family members?
Yeah, so like uncles and aunts are equivalent to parents. Right?
Grandmother, grandfather.
They are all equivalent to parents. Cousins are like brother and sister.
जिज्ञासु किसके लिए था मेरे को
Student.
हाँ मतलब वैसे learned and responsible would be समझदार and जिम्मेदार.
Yeah, that's for when the child is getting educated for this purpose. He's asking in terms of teacher-student relationship. There also learned word has come now. The teacher would be learned and the student would be the inquisitive. Okay, next. Then we went to order in nature, right? Which is the knowledge of coexistence. Next. Existence is a system in, by, and for coexistence, right? So basically existence is coexistence and it's a system. This coexistence is manifested in form of systems. So we saw that existence is basically space and matter, right? Existence comprises of two inseparable entities, right? Space and matter. Boundless, all-pervasive power is space. Infinite, indestructible units are the matter. Next. Existence is free from beginning or end. Because since matter and space both are not created nor destroyed, therefore existence is neither created nor destroyed. So this is kind of a steady state universe theory. Okay? Next. Space is constant, continuous, unfragmented, omnipresent, transparent, all-pervasive, eternal entity. Right? These are the qualities of space. Matter is eternal, indestructible, innumerable units, active, changing. Right? Changing and comma evolving. That is also part of it. Because matter doesn't exist in isolation. It is always, these units are together, and together they evolve also. They change and evolve. Okay. Then coexistence. Togetherness, to understand coexistence, if we were to look at day-to-day life, it is togetherness in being and functioning. This is one of the day-to-day definitions. That we are together in it, we are together in the family. That is one togetherness. Now, how we function, if we also start functioning in cooperative manner, then we are also together in functioning. So coexistence is togetherness in being and functioning. Next. The other way to look at it practically is being useful and complementary. How do we coexist? When we are useful and or complementary. Right? Next. Then when you look at it in a little technical way, each unit is a system in itself with its own uniqueness while being a part of larger system. This is the technical definition of coexistence. Okay? And we took the example of the leaf and the tree and so many things. Right? Next. Then finally, we need to add all. All in sentient matter permeated in space is the complete reality. So all the matter which is there in existence, whether sentient or insentient, permeated. This will be going in the next slide. Permeated means being soaked in, being immersed in, and being encompassed in space. So it is basically the state of relationship between matter and space. So space is everywhere, and that everywhere the matter which is there, space is through and through it. So matter is soaked in space. Just like a cloth when put in water is wet. Similarly, matter is soaked in space. Also, the matter is immersed in space. That means there is no, what it signifies there, it cannot come out of space. It can't be separated from it. Right? And third is that it is surrounded. That which it signifies that there is space between all matter units. Every coexistence of units of matter, there is also coexistence of matter and space and matter. Right? So everywhere in between there is space.
Also to note that all these definitions mean the same thing.
Yeah. They all are indicating to coexistence. So this is like day-to-day living, what we are talking about. Right? And this is like a technical definition. This is the fundamental state of matter and space. But these are all coexistence. Because the statement is that existence is coexistence. Coexistence is the causality, coexistence is the process, and coexistence is the result. Right? Then we looked into the next slide. So this permeated, we elaborated it into these three states. Being soaked, being immersed, being encompassed. And we are saying that by virtue of it being soaked, matter is energized, because this is fundamental energy. And because this is perfect, and it is immersed in the perfect, matter is active for perfection. And because it is encompassed in the space, and therefore there is regulation and balance in it. Right? Very interesting thing, which I missed out at that moment. What do you observe? Do you observe matter or space? Now that we have become aware of space, you will realize that you only observe coexistence of matter and space. You cannot observe matter separately or space separately. You can only observe them together. See this chalk. You can see it now. Why can you see it? Because you can see its boundary. Boundary is basically matter, limits. What is beyond the limit? Space. So you see it together with space. You can't see it now. You can see it now. So you can only see things whose boundaries you can see. What is boundary? Space and matter's coexistence. Right? Can you see this? What do you see first? The space in between, and then that. So you started seeing space now. Is space, exactly. Now try to imagine an object of matter without space. Just imagine it. There is no space in your imagination, just matter. Can you do it? Okay, let's reverse it. Now try to imagine space without matter. No, even, so how are you imagining it? So suppose you are visualizing it, right? So what are you seeing in that? You'll see air in the room. So you'll have to have the room first, then air. Right? So this is a very interesting thing. You only observe coexistence. But we are not aware of the space, therefore we ignored it. We were not able to see it. Right? All you see is space and matter. Yes. The body, human being, is a combination of Jeevan and matter, right? In space. Everything is in space. So when I say a plant, it is implied in Jeevan Vidya. When a person is saying plant, it is plant in space. Right? Because space is all pervading. It is everywhere. Right? No, Jeevan is not space. Jeevan is also matter. There are two kinds of matter, sentient and insentient, we talked about. In Hindi, the words are Chaitanya Prakriti or Jad Prakriti. But it is a matter. Why is it matter? Matter is in form of units. Unit means like this is one, this is another one, this is another one, this is another one. This is what units are, right? So like you are conscious, I am conscious. Because you are conscious, you can think. I am conscious, I can think. But you and I think differently. Right? Right now what are you thinking and what I am thinking are two different things. So we are two separate units. So because we are separate, therefore we are units. Okay? So because we are units, we are matter. Yes?
I have a somewhat trivia type question.
Yeah.
Insentient matter.
Sentient is the Jeevan, insentient is the body.
Thank you. I was asking if um, sentient matter, which constitutes Jivan,
Yeah.
would it technically be smaller, the atom for that, would it be even smaller than the atoms which constitute insentient matter? Because that's the matter that we can see and touch when it comes together.
So we touch and sense the matter, which is in form of structures made up of molecules and atoms. Because since sentient matter does not form molecules because it is free of chemical bonding as well as physical bonding. So it's always in form of a unit. It doesn't form structures. Yeah. They're not bunch of Jivan atoms which combine together like that. Just one. And it combines with the body, and as humans we come together. Or animals we come together. So that is the way of coexisting with Jivan in conscious act. Because to come together, it needs to interact with the physical world for which the body is needed. Okay. Yes. Anything else? Huh? Sorry.
I was just asking if we want to go into magnetized entity and environment.
No, not. That's for the Adhyan, for a deeper study. I don't want to open any new topic. I just want to go through what we've talked. A little bit of things will be there. So all matter units are energized, active for perfection, and regulated and balanced. These are the inherent quantity of matter in normal state. These are the building blocks of nature. Anything you'll take, it will be energized, it will be active, and it will be regulated. And it being regulated can be seen by it will be participating in some sort of organization. It will be participating as an atom, it will be participating as molecule, it will be participating as molecular structures or structures beyond that. That is the reason the matter takes structured forms, organized forms. Otherwise, it should have just been dissipated in the space like dust. Not a single bond should have been there. Next. This activity we talked about, right, which is the conduct, which is the basis of participation, is in three ways. There is effort, there is motion, and there is structure. Right? And then we talked about three perfections, because this is also, activity is also evolving. Structure evolves into perfect structure, which is the permanence, which is a structural perfection. Then the effort leads to rest, or which is the functional permanence. And motion is for destination, which is the conduct perfection or the conduct permanence. Okay. So instead of perfection, we can also use the word permanence here, because there is continuity of it forever. The details of this are in the study, further study. Right? This is a very important part. This is what we call the governing principle of the existence. This effort, motion, and structure. This determines the governing feature of everything. This can be studied in detail. Next. So, we go back to, yeah. So systems. What is system? So recognizing and responding. This is the basic principle of forming of systems. Because every system is a coordinated motion. There is dynamicity in it. Okay. Next. Then functioning governed natural law, regulation, balance, justice, righteousness, and truth. The justice, righteousness, and truth are applicable in the human domain. And in the non-human domain, the law and recognition and balance. It is basically the same thing, but they are There are certain different aspects how they work, so we have given different names. Okay? And a system is with a definite purpose, constituents, activity, and value to the larger organization. These are all symptoms or all qualities of a symptom, of a system. Next. Nature is in form of 4 orders, right? So, because of all this, now the nature manifests itself in form of 4 orders on a planet. The stage where it plays out the 4 orders is called a planet. It is a collection of large amount of matter which becomes stable in its physical motions, and the process on it lead to a certain kind of atmosphere, certain kind of condition on it, right? Which is all being governed by this existence, coexistence system, what we just talked about. And on that planet, these 4 orders start emerging. So next. So, from atom to molecular structures, to RNA, DNA, to biological cells, to simple plant life, complex plant life, geographical areas with all sorts of life, planet, to solar system, to a galaxy, to universe. Right? This is the coexistential harmony at every level. Except there is only disharmony in one place in the existence, which is the imagination of the unawakened person. That is the only place where disharmony is there, or where these laws are not working, this regulation is not working. Everywhere else in reality, the laws are always working. So the only thing which we need to fix is our imagination, which is our intellect. And intellect can only be fixed with the help of spiritual awakening. Next. So, existence is coexistential order. Next. Order is a system with definite purpose, constituent activity, role in larger order. Now, we are looking at from the gross level to the subtle level to the causality level, right? Bring out all. And the fundamental level. There are 4 levels of awareness: gross, subtle, causality, and fundamental. Gross level is perceived through 4.5 plus the body. How do you perceive gross things? The 4.5 activities of the Jeevan and the body. In combination of these two, you perceive the gross. Right? The subtle level, you now need other activities. Right? This is perceived through the chit and buddhi. Right? Or rather vritti and chit. And this causality is with chit and buddhi, and this is only through atma. So it's an inward journey. What are these? There are only 3 activities in nature: physical, chemical, and conscious activities. Causality of all the 3 activities is order in atoms. Therefore, we need to study the subtle level, because we need to understand the atoms. There are stable atomic configuration, structures, and definite properties of atoms. This is the insentient atoms. Then there is the perfectly structured atom, which is the Jeevan atom, which is the sentient atom. At the causality level, which is what is the basis of the behavior which the definite conduct which these are showing and the tendency to come into harmony with each other, what is causing that? That is the causality level. There is a balancing activity that we study. And what is the cause for that? That cause for that is fundamental coexistence. That again needs to be studied for your Atma to realize it. Right? So this is the fourth full scope of study, from gross to subtle to causality to fundamental. Right? This is only accessible through Atma. This is only accessible through Buddhi. This is only accessible through full functioning of Chit. And this with the full functioning of Vritti and Man along with body. Of course, they all function together. So this, once this is done, this helps us to achieve this. When these two are done, it helps us achieve this. When this is done, it helps us achieve this.
I think I must have missed this part earlier. What is the balancing activity in the Jivan atom?
In any atom, there is a balancing activity, all atoms. So what is the activity? That whenever there is an external influence, see, there are two functions happening in the atom. One is that there is the, can we use those slides then? The atom, stability of atom, because visuals will help. Okay. Click once. Oh, go back. That should have been an animation, why it's not working. Anyway, so this is the atomic structure, right? Now, this atomic structure, how does it come about? These are moving and these are also moving. This is not to scale, okay? So they are all moving. And in this movement, there is a balance which comes. That this configuration, yeah. So these all stay together despite movement, right? So there is some kind of a balance that this contains. I mean, all these stay together, right? So where is this balance coming from? So one part of it is the internally, the system is of the energy levels are such that it is the most efficient system. Therefore, they stay within this formation, right? But along with this, when an external influence comes, some force from outside affects the atom, then it has a certain level of compensating the effects of outside influence. And that is exerted from the nucleus. That also is a balancing. Like suppose there is a force which acts, which might disturb one of the orbiting particles. But the nucleus will position it back into its orbit. So there are two kinds. One is internal system, and which is the internal coordination balance, and the other is when the external force comes and still to sustain that structure. So where is this tendency coming from? That is the important question. That we are saying comes from the fundamental level, fundamental nature of matter, which is by being in that space being permeated in space, it being immersed in perfect, it being energized, and it being active and regulated because of that. So this, we won't go into the detail, but I hope this answers for the time being. If there is more clarification.
Just like I understand this happening in the insentient atom. I'm just not sure on how this works. Like, how are the electrons positioned in the various levels of, say, vritti, chit,
Man, vritti, chit, buddhi, atma. Right. So these particles are like in a system now that which will not change. It is like free of the outside influence. That is very important question, but out of scope of this right now. because it requires a lot of details. Okay, going back. Acha, while we're showing this, just show the motion of the planets also together, because that gives the idea. In the morning, Marina was also talking about that. So let's show that. Usually we think of sun as being stationary and the planets going around it because we look at it two-dimensionally, right? But it isn't so. And connect the blue. We don't need the sound. Okay, chalo. That orange ball is signifying a sun, and the spirals going around is the paths of the planet. So when we look at it two-dimensionally, it appears like this, as if the sun is stationary and the planets are going around it in a circle. So the sun is moving along its path and the planets are coming along with it, like this. Yeah, stop. Okay. So yeah, please.
So if the sun is pulling all the planets with using its gravity to pull them along with the sun, why isn't it not picking up other rocks and stuff from outer space and just like pulling them towards the planets, or does it come to the sun and disintegrate?
So in science also there is explanation for this. First I'll give you the science explanation, then I'll tell you how we look at it here. Right. So every planet also has its own gravity. So the rocks are smaller and the planet is much bigger. So they are one with this planet. So they move along as one entity. Right? So like the air also is there around Earth. It is also rotating with the planet. So the whole planet functions as one entity. And the sun is also as one entity. So this one entity and the other entity, there is movement with them together, whatever, through gravity, as they say in science. So Earth has its area of influence, sun has its area of influence. Within this Earth's area of influence, it is one, the rocks can move in this, but they can't go out of Earth's area of influence. Like even to take that spaceship outside, we need so much amount of force to break away from it. Right? We need to have the escape velocity to get out of that place.
So are there like many rocks just orbiting around? Yeah,
So Earth, being a big planet or any big planet, anything which is near it will slowly come into rocks will come to the surface, right? But in space, yes, there are many asteroid belts, there are many meteors, there are many comets, those kind of things are there, which are there. And from time to time, such things do happen that these go and join some planet. Like in 1990s, middle of 1990s, I think around 96 or so, there was a comet which went and fell into Jupiter. Schumacher levy, I think it was called. Right? You can find about that. So meteorites, we can always see what you call the shooting stars, right? In the night, those are you can see happening coming into the Earth. But as they enter the atmosphere, the friction burns them up mostly. Sometimes they do reach the surface, right? Like that. Okay, so there are things. There is not only rocks, there is also dust. Yesterday only I was reading a news that a very small meteorite crashed into that new telescope they launched. What is that telescope? Webb? Something I'm forgetting its name. Which was just recently launched, a couple of months back maybe. And it struck that telescope, damaging it. So there are many small particles, big particles. There is, in the space, there is a lot of radiation also. Earth has several layers of radiation blocking fields, where the harmful radiations don't enter the Earth's surface. They don't reach till the surface. So for hundreds of kilometers, thousands of kilometers, there are these fields. Yeah. They're called, what are they called? Van Halen belts. Yeah. So many things like that. It's a very interesting structure. What part of which we have discovered. Some parts we still do not know. The solar system is supposed to be very big, right? And a lot of things we don't know about it beyond certain days. Some things we know about it. Very interesting. But in Jeevan Vidya, how we are saying this is like the planets which are there. What is this? Some people think this was a planet which never formed. So that's why there's a asteroid belt. Or it is a planet in formation. It is a collapsed planet. A lot of speculation is there about this. So there is Sun, then there is Mercury, Venus, Earth, and then Mars. And between Mars and Jupiter, there is this asteroid belt, I think. Right? Yeah.
Oh, there's an asteroid also coming round and round, yeah?
They call this an asteroid belt. It's full of bits of rock.
This whole area has got lots of rocks.
Ah, that's all the fuzz part, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, so that was maybe a deformed planet that hasn't...
Could be a planet which is in formation, yet not formed. It could be a planet which disintegrated, right? So there's a lot of speculation there.
One last question. So if the sun is actually moving through space, is the entire space moving along at the same speed, so everything kind of goes along, or can the sun kind of meet other planets on the way?
So, like Earth and Sun. Earth is not the only planet going around the Sun. We just saw that there are many planets going. But they don't collide with each other. This is coordinated motion. Right? That's why we're calling it a solar system. The Sun is going around the center of the galaxy. Galaxy is made up of billions of stars. They all are moving in a coordinated motion. Yes, it is. Okay? And there is not one galaxy in this world. There are billions of galaxies. Innumerable of them. These galaxies form clusters of galaxies. They are billions in numbers. It's innumerable. It's just mind-boggling when you think of it. Yeah. Still fills me with wonder when I talk about it. Yeah. Okay, going back. Anji.
You just mentioned there are lots of galaxies, and that all things are in harmony. Only मानव का जो imagination है.
Yeah, that has to come into harmony.
हाँ,
That's all.
मतलब inhuman का.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's all. The subhuman, what we were calling, his intellect or imagination is yet to be harmonized. has to become aligned with the natural systems. And when that becomes aligned, then the human action will become aligned. Okay? Mike.
So this the Jeevan atom, which is like for human beings, which is out of order, is it only on Earth the Jeevan atoms, or the other say the Jeevan atoms on other planets, maybe other aliens, or I don't know what other things may be living?
Yeah.
Are they in order, or are they also a little bit off?
So let's look at it from statistical point of view. Right? There was a movie which I recommend for people to watch when they have such questions. There's a movie called Contact, Jodie Foster, and it's early 90s movies or maybe late 80s movie. It's about aliens making contact, intelligent life making contact with planet Earth and what all. So there they explore such questions. And in one of the scenes she says, like, so this young child is asking her, she's a astro scientist, so they're asking her that, is there any life on any other planet? She says, I don't know. But if there isn't, it will be an awful lot of space which has been wasted. Right? So we don't know yet, but statistically speaking, there should be life on another planet. Right? And if there is life, some will be more advanced, some will be less advanced. We're not spatial. Like that. So there will be planets where awakening has happened as a human race. So they're living in harmony with each other. There will be planets, they're still killing each other. There are planets where there are only 3 orders, human order has not yet arrived. There might be planets where only 2 orders are there. There is no animal life yet, only biological life is there. Like that. Okay, coming back. So 4 orders. Unfreeze. Unfreeze. Yeah. Material order is all the things on this planet, right? Second, biological order, all things on planet that are breathing. Then, all things that are breathing and respiring and having self-awareness. That is the animal order. And human order, which is respiring, self-aware, and having awareness of purpose. Right? So we are always searching for meaning and purpose. Right? We can make it meaning and purpose. Right? Next. Then these 4 orders, 2 are insentient and 2 are sentient. In the material order, predominantly physical activity is taking place. In biological order, predominantly chemical activity with physical activity is taking place. In animal order, physical chemical activity plus the body is the physical chemical activity plus conscious activity. Right? And in knowledge order, complete conscious activity, spiritual intellect activity, and chemical physical body is there. Right? Next. So this is our relationship in the 4 orders. All the 3 orders are contributing to each other, but knowledge order is only taking. So it's in the state of exploitation. Okay. So these relationships are unfulfilled, which are supposed to give back are yet not being fulfilled. Next. So there is a sequence of emergence in these 4 orders, which we are calling the evolutionary process. Lower orders are useful for higher orders. Higher orders are complementary to the lower orders. Higher orders are nurtured and secured in the equilibrium of the lower order. Okay. Then we come to the material order. We talk about this formation, continuation, deformation. This all is happening under the influence of the environment. This takes some duration, deformation takes some duration, continuation is for some duration. The duration of continuation is much bigger than formation and deformation, and therefore continuity is ensured. Right? Material order is dependent on environmental factors for formation, continuation, deformation. Next. Formation and deformation in nature, this part we just talked about. Next. Biological order. So biological order, besides that, wait, shall we go into the Aage? No, I wanted the Roop Gun Swabhav Dharm, should we? Iske baad? Theek. So what is the biological unit? Biological unit is taking some required substance. It has the ability to choose from its environment what it needs, and it eliminates something into that environment. And in the balance of ingestion and elimination, it keeps itself nourished. Right? Wait. And also it has the ability to take the material and put it in form of itself, and therefore, which we are calling it reproduction. It can make many more like it. So even though a biological cell might live for 7 days, but in 7 days it might make many replicas of itself. Right? Next. Unfreeze. So biological order flourishes in conducive environment. Biological order develops ability to select and acquire required minerals from its environment for its nourishment. Biological order also has developed abilities of formation in itself, which is the reproduction ability. This is the extra, more than the material order that they can do. Next. Animal order has the ability to select or choose the conducive environment. Right? So more degree of freedom is there. But this comes with the ability to move. The ability to move requires the connective tissue and the coordination system, which is the nervous system. So this is very easy way of identifying what is an animal and what is biological life. If there is muscles and nerves, that is an animal. Okay. Next. Knowledge order. Knowledge order also has the ability, has the biggest ability, which is to develop its environment. But knowledge order's environment is of two kinds. The biological, physical, chemical, biological environment, which affects his body, and the social environment, which affects his conscious or the Jeevan. So there is no need to disturb the physical, biological physical environment or the ecological environment. We need to develop our social environment. And the tool to develop our social environment is education. Wait. Okay. And this is the part of our evolution, our growth. Our growth lies in developing our social environments. Our growth is not in the domain of moving earth and rocks and mountains and rivers and forests and stuff like that. Our growth lies in creating more conducive social environments. Okay, next. So if this table we've not seen, show it. Full. So we can identify these 4 orders on basis of their form or appearance, properties, and their nature or qualities, their order dharma, and their, what is this? Okay, we'll talk about the word later. It basically, for the material order, shape, volume, and density determines its form. For bio order, corresponding to the what species of it belongs to. So that seed, according to that, its form is determined. In animal order, again, what pedigree it's from, and for knowledge order, it is the human form. That's the appearance. By looking at it, you can identify like on basis of this. The properties. Property is basically what we are calling the impact of a unit on its surroundings. So this is circumstantial. In some circumstances, it can be positive. In some circumstances, it can be negative. And in some circumstances, it can be regulating or mediating. Okay. Basically, this signifies the continuity. Whenever there is regulation or mediation, it means the state will continue. Okay. In the material order, the nature is coming together and going apart.
Can you please explain properties again?
So your impact on your surroundings can be that, so a unit will be in some sort of organization, right? So conducive to that organization, it can be called positive impact, and detrimental to that organization can be negative impact, and an impact which nurtures this organization, enhances its continuity, is called the mediating impact.
So like water, if since there is a stream here, we can say it has a positive impact on the environment. If it, say, floods, then it's a negative. But what is a mediation?
It sustains life.
But that's positive only.
Positive is in a situation, is an event-based thing. Negative is an event-based thing. This is the long-term impact. Sorry. So this is the properties of anything. Like for example, you take water only, right? A lot of us have got cold and cough, right? If we drink cold water right now, it will have a negative impact. If we drink warm water or hot water, it will have a soothing effect, positive effect. But water's impact on human body is, it is needed for sustaining body, right? Yeah.
So the logic is somewhat akin to high state, normal state, and low state in logic.
Yeah, could be related to that. Yeah.
The positive and negative in events is in context of formation and deformation.
Yeah. Promoting things to come together is positive. Making things fall apart is negative. And that continuation, right? That in the slide of material order, formation, deformation, and continuation. The things which help continuation are being called this. Same thing can have these three effects. The nature or the quality of these things is that material order is in formation or deformation, or bonding, unbonding, coming together, falling apart. This is the nature of materials, right? And in bio order, it is basically beneficent and maleficent. That means the long-term impact is conducive for some species and non-conducive for some species. Right? This is needed for balance in nature. In animal order, cruel and benign. So cruel and benign words basically are supposed to indicate some animals to survive kill other animals, and some animals don't kill other animals. Right? They eat plants and things like that. They are being called benign. Right? So herbivores and carnivores. So cruel and non-cruel, that kind of thing. Right? So that is the nature. And human nature we have already talked about. The patience, courage, generosity, kindness. This is the human nature. Right? And their placement or their defining property. For material order, it is existence, because it cannot be destroyed. I mean, material will continue, and the other angle to it is that there are processes in nature which keep on producing that thing. Like water is being produced in nature on this planet once it's formed. So the water system continues, similarly oxygen, similarly minerals, these. So they keep existing, continuing. Bioorder, existence plus growth. They are signified by their growth or their nourishment tendencies. Right? Animal order, by their will to live. Right? So all their actions are according to their will to live. And human, by happiness. All these lower ones include the higher ones. Right? This will include this. That's where the plus sign has been put here. Okay. So human dharma, or the human defining property, is happiness or need for happiness.
So would the ultimate happiness to be like the maximum carrying capacity of a planet, say? So if humans could find, I was just thinking that if you imagine original people, I've read about many that, even till this day are still living in the forests, and some of them seem to be in very orderly function, but obviously they are unable to have a very high number.
Yeah.
So if you were going to maximize happiness, is it through technology and through knowledge and through our understanding of how to manage systems, we could actually have a much larger knowledge-based society, and potentially all living in happiness, right?
Yeah.
So that would be the growth pattern to more and more and more, basically.
Yeah. So about these numbers which are there, people who seem to be living in harmony, they are in harmony with nature. So their physical interaction with nature, right, that is definitely in harmony, no doubts about that. But their emotional and psychological and spiritual journeys are limited there. They are not exhibiting the coordination of other levels, which will evolve out of a lot of humans coming together and living together, which doesn't necessarily mean technological development, but definitely knowledge or awareness levels go up. So there are also studies which say they're working at the level of awarenesses which are needed to survive physically, not to flourish in intellectual manners. That is not a goal there at all. So this goal of flourishing intellectually, and intellectualism comes out when we work in coordinated nature amongst humans. That coordinated manner of work beyond that physical domain for achieving other results, better systems in human interaction, better organizations of humans. They're working with one system and they're continuing with that level. But when they get exposed to the external factors, that gets disturbed, because that intellectual capacity which they do have then gets attracted to this. See, any influence which comes will only attract if there is a need for it. So they get attracted. The youth in there, like a lot of, in Chhattisgarh, Bastar district, you see, a lot of tribals are going in for now, learning about a lot of other things besides what they're doing.
Yeah, there was one example. There's a beautiful book called Original Wisdom. It's based in Indonesia, and these people live in the forests, in the mountain forests, and they seem to be. They also have very high social qualities.
Okay.
It's not just a sustainable material level. They seem to have very high social value also. But they are also aware that they are going to disappear because the forests are disappearing, and they're just aware that their time is limited.
Right.
But for thousands of years, maybe hundreds of thousands of years, they've actually at one point they may have even believed that they would be continuous.
Right.
Because there was no modern development.
Yeah, I would assume they'd have to have really stable social systems also to last for this long. Yeah, I think besides the fact that, their physical environments getting destroyed from the outside before, maybe, I don't know about this particular example, before they have the chance to explore whether they would, possibly be interested in engaging with the outside world or not. But I think we've seen examples where really sustainable societies otherwise, physically and socially, pretty sustainable, if not completely. We can't say completely or not. At least when outside influence comes in, gets kind of uh, corrupted, yeah.
Like one of the biggest complaints of Indian nationalists is that our Indian village community, which was there for thousands of years, we were living in form of villages with our own social hierarchy and it was there for thousands of years, the system. But then the outsiders came and they disturbed it and this and that. So there is some continuity which seems perceivable there too. But yeah, tribals would definitely have much longer. So this ability to withstand the external influences is very important factor. Otherwise, it's like a helpless thing, unit. So we need to think more about this, I suppose. That's all I can say right now. Not questioning that their systems are there, social systems are there. See, social systems will develop to a certain level. But humankind has to live as one unit on this planet. That is the key. There is no disconnect. There can't be any pockets. That's the message I keep getting again and again from these examples. And that is, when we align ourselves to the motto of let live and live. Till the time that is realized, this will keep happening. And whatever sustainable models we form, unless until let live and live, and which comes from spiritual awakening, not before that. It has to be global. Okay. So this is done for time being, I say. This table next. I'm not going into the last column for the time being. This you talked about. Go on, next. Skip. Get on to the humane nature, humane conduct. So we talked about this in the morning, so I don't think I need to repeat this. Right? So more or less we have gone through all the slides, which will help you now prepare for your presentation tomorrow. We'll start with 9. Along with your presentations, after your presentations are done, after that, individually you will also be expected to give some sort of a feedback at the closure of this workshop. Right? So whether you liked it, you didn't like it, what you liked, what you disliked, right? Not only for the workshop, also for the host organization, Sambhavana, who have provided us the environment to conduct this workshop. So there were some facilities they provided. If they were good, they need to be appreciated. If there was something lacking, we can give a feedback to them. This could be improved in this manner. Again, with gratitude and gentleness, I hope we can practice that. And yeah, the group formation, I'm leaving it to you guys, right? One or two people have expressed their desire to do it alone, which is okay. If somebody wants to do it alone. If you want to do it in group, I've suggested 4 groups, then because that way there will be less number of presentation, maybe you can dwell upon it. And because you collaborate, exchange of thoughts, and you can see the process, observe yourself when you're trying to say something, how people receive and how you respond to that, whether they receive or not. That is an interesting phenomenon. So, I was hoping that you guys would be able to select your self-organized rather than me dictating or some other mechanism. But if you think you need, okay. Okay, so can you, if those of you who have formed groups, can you inform us what group is this? Okay, 4 of you. And you guys could give a name to it also. 4 of you, yeah, okay. You're doing it alone, right? Great. Who else? 4 of you. This is a family, okay. Alone, okay. So 2 of you are there. You want to do it together? Who else is there? You guys are also there. Shweta is not here today. You'll need to do it today, so. She might come tomorrow. She might come, we don't know. So we'll pass on the message what is going to happen tomorrow. If she comes, then she can do her own presentation and feedback. Yeah. So 4 of, there is only 2 of you are sitting there or 1 person is sitting there? I can't make it. Sachin is alone, okay. So 3 of you together. Is it okay? No option. Okay, make up a group of 5. Whatever you, however you want to organize. He's got the message. So that is a group of 3 problem. Yeah, okay. Okay. Veda is not well. I don't know whether she'll be able to join in. If she joins in, we'll let her know if she is able to, then she'll come and join you guys. So, what is the message you received from this workshop? What was said here and what have you received? 2 things. No, you don't have to repeat the content. The presentation is already there. You don't have to repeat that. Right? So, essence of it. What is the essence of it that you have received? That is the main thing. And more than what you say, it is how you work together. That is more important. Right? Okay, then we'll end our session right now. And you can get starting. Yeah, let's get started over tea. Our tea will be there in a few minutes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.